All right, guys, we got Fly versus PSG. This is quite the psychopathic draft from FlyQuest here, and I think it looked a little bit rough around the edges at first, but I do understand the concept, and I think they did try to cook here. I do like the fact that they had some prepared picks and they were responding quite aggressively to what the meta was calling for. So I think Fly is one of the remaining teams that still really prioritizes Renekton very highly. I think it's a North American thing, I swear. All the other teams, they're shifting around. They're going to go Jax. They did ban Jax and Rumble here to give a lot of pressure for Whippo. So basically what this ensures in this draft is that top side is an area that you can essentially play through. So the only responses you can really do here would be like Cassante or Gnar, right? And those would be the main options I would say in this case. But in both cases, it does still secure that Whipple gets like priority in lane, and you can still play around the map, right? To play through it. And I think PSG, they're very standard in the way they draft. They don't do anything spicy at all, at least from what I've seen so far. They're not limit testers. But then when you see FlyQuest here, holy man, they just send it with this draft in the 2-3 here. And on paper, it looked a little bit sus. I'm not gonna lie. It's a little bit risky the way they went for it, but they did end up paying off. But however, just roll the picks. Just roll the picks. So they slam Ivern and Cassio into the Ahri. And on paper, it just does make a lot of sense. You're like, what the hell? Like, what is going on, guys? But conceptually, it's understandable. So basically, the Ivern is basically just there to cuck and force the Vi to not really be able to get a lot of efficiency. And the Cassio is like kind of like a tech pick into the Ahri, right? It still gets outranged slightly into the Ahri, and it doesn't it leaves I would say it leaves a lot of room for PSG to actually manipulate this draft a little bit more, because the main issue with the FlyQuest comp would be the fact that it's FTB and does a decent job of it, but it has limited range, right? Those are the main limiting factors here. Ivern, Enchanter Jungler, probably the only one that's relevant right now, and it's a decent pick, and it enables the Cassio, especially, and whatever picks that Fly will go on the 4-5. So it basically guarantees them that they have a certain amount of range. If I were PSG here, I would immediately, because Fly gives you a window on 3 to respond, I immediately would have gone for the Ziggs on 3, because you can identify from here that your win condition is to outrange, right? That's the main limiting factor in this case. Cassio is a little bit weak in terms of her range. If you just don't let them play into you, you can pivot into a backwards comp. Yes, the Vi is going to be a little bit homeless, and that's kind of like the caveat here. But it's, I think the idea of your comp having to outrange supersedes that, right? So I would have probably pivoted into the Ziggs on 3. It's okay that they know that it is, because then you just create a new win con against the FlyQuest comp, and I think it would have been really hard for Fly to play here. That's why I say it's actually a really risky draft. Cassio is a champ that you can really only pick on the 4 or 5. So, or like really, really late as possible. So if I were them, I'm surprised they actually go for it this early in response to the Ahri. I would not have expected it to be banned in phase 2, unless they specifically revealed this in like scrims, and PSG are aware of that. That would be the only reason why they'd pick it this early, right? Otherwise, you can it is manipulatable. I think you can go Ziggs here. You can go Ezreal here as well. I'm surprised they actually don't go for it. It's not as like, let's say, flavor, but you need some sort of way to kind of deal with the FlyQuest comp here, right? As it stands, if you're playing into the Cassio Ivern conditions, then you're going to lose stealth slot for slot. It's a little bit of a stat check. My other thing with this FlyQuest comp is that also it's a little bit funny, because they're like directionally they're a little bit all over, right? The Kai'Sa Leona really want to go in. You still have the AP Kai'Sa a little bit, but overall, stylistically, in terms of fights, it's like a little bit weird. And PSG's comp is like basically autopilot, right? They don't actually do anything to respond well to this Cassio. So it's like the FlyQuest draft is not allowed, but PSG don't punish. And that's how FlyQuest actually end up faring okay in this draft, and they end up sneaking the win over PSG. I would use the words either sneak or rob them of this draft, because oh man, I think that's on paper it makes sense, but holy, it's yeah, you know what I'm saying? But, I commend them for the audacity to really push the limits here. And I think I wanted to provide some insight on why they would potentially pick this. And I think this is a little bit of a lazy draft from PSG, in my opinion. I don't think the coach really did too much to adapt here and really be on their toes. It could be because it's on the world stage, so they're a little bit scary, and it's you tend to want to rely on picks that have been proven already, which makes sense. But it doesn't make it any more allowed from this FlyQuest draft. So yeah. This is a funny one, and I'll see you in the next one, guys.